Hey, this is Jillian Johnsrud. Welcome to lesson 2. In this one, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite kind of life planning exercises. And I first read about this maybe 10, 15 years ago. David Bach wrote a great book called Smart Couples Finish Rich. And he actually just revised it like last year. And it's really good. And he had this exercise in it about what do you want to be, what do you want to have, and what do you want to do? And it's just a really simple way to break this down. And I love to start with this question because most of us intuitively at least know a couple of these answers. So I want you to start to brainstorm this. In the B, these are things that are central to our identity. So you might say, I want to be a great husband or a great wife or a great father. I want to be a writer or a traveler or an entrepreneur or a master gardener. It's something that you would introduce yourself as at a dinner party outside of your profession. And that's oftentimes where we get messed up, because people always ask us when we're kids, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're not really saying, who do you want to be as a human being? They're saying, what would you like to do professionally to earn money? And oftentimes those are very different things. So I just want you to brainstorm that list. What are all those things that you want to be? The second one is, what do you want to have? Now this might seem easy because mass marketing is out there pushing a whole bunch of things that we should have. But I really like to focus in on what physical possessions really help facilitate our best life. So if you love hiking, you might want a hiking backpack. If you love camping and traveling, you might want an RV. I really want an amazing backyard because I want a place to entertain guests. I want a place for my kids to play. I want to be able to garden and grow food. I want a little sanctuary to write and drink tea and have great conversations with my husband. So that physical possession really helps facilitate a lot of the other things in my life that I want to do and that I want to be. So I'm going to list out all those things, like what would you love to have? And then the last thing are, what are the things that you want to do? And I break this into two different groups. One would be one-time experiences, big one-time experiences that, I want to see all 50 states, or I want to write a novel, or I want to start a company. Those are things that you might do one time. And then the other one are things that are ongoing, they're habits, they're part of your lifestyle that you want to do. Like, I want to work out every day. Or maybe you say, what if we hosted a dinner party every month and we invited our friends and family and we just did that for decades? That would be something that you do, but it's ongoing and continual and just becomes part of the fabric of your life. It could be going to the lake in the summer, or a ski trip every winter. Like, what are those things that you want to do outside of just a big one-time kind of thing? Now, with a lot of these, oftentimes we have little roadblocks, and I just want to mention two roadblocks. The first one is that oftentimes we don't want to write some of the stuff down because it's not guaranteed. Most of the best things in life don't come with a guarantee, and they don't come with a warranty. It might not work, it might break, it might work and then not work. It might take a long time to work. So we don't want to write it down because it feels scary and it almost feels vulnerable to say, hey, I really want to be this, or I really want to have this, or do this, when it's not guaranteed. It may or may not happen. So it feels risky because it is risky. But here's the problem. If we only want to have and do things that are 100% guaranteed, our life has to be very, very small. Very small. If we want 100% guarantee on this, we got to keep everything really small and safe. So what I propose is to try to expand our life, to make it a little bigger, to encompass some of the things that might work and some of the things that might not work. if you make it this big, you might have a 70% chance of success on these things. If you make it a little bit bigger, you might only have a 50% chance that this stuff will actually work out. But I think that when we get to the end of our life, we regret keeping our life too small and too safe. I think most people say, I wish I would have been a little bit more open. I wish I would have at least risked dreaming or hoping or planning or moving in the direction of these things that I really cared about in order to get there. So that's our first perspective. Our second one, and the second roadblock that really holds people back, is some people call it like a limiting belief or a false narrative, or just it's something that we got in our heads a while ago because someone said it to us or something happened or a circumstance changed, and now it really influences our behavior going forward. So, personal story of mine, if you've read my blog for a while or seen me write anything on a whiteboard, you might realize I am not a fantastic speller. And actually, most of my childhood experience was bringing home spelling tests and practicing and practicing and practicing and failing and crying every single week. Like, that kind of sums up grade school for me, is crying about spelling tests because I was an atrocious speller. It's still not a strong suit, but it could have been really easy for me as a kid to be like, man, I really am bad at this. Ergo, I probably shouldn't be a writer. I probably shouldn't be a creative person. I probably shouldn't form ideas or teach, because culturally there's such a strong correlation between spelling and writing, obviously, or spelling or even thinking, or spelling and intelligence. But it just wasn't true. Like, they didn't actually have anything to do with each other. So sometimes things have happened, or someone has said something and it just kind of sticks with us and says, I don't know if I can write this down. I don't know if I can be that. I don't know if I can have that, because you don't know where I came from or what my life was like, or I don't know if I can do those things. So just be mindful of those challenges, those narratives that kind of bubble up in the form of hesitation or fear of writing those things down. And then the third step I want you to consider in this process, once you have, hopefully you have big lists of all this stuff, it's all written down, you have lots of brainstorms. For each of these things that you wrote down, do they take time? Do they take money? Or do they take commitment and energy? Sometimes, I say a lot of the times, we say, oh, all this stuff, I can't do this stuff. I can't do this stuff. And the one that we blame, money. If I only had enough money, then I could do this. When really, I want you to think about each one individually, because sometimes we don't need more money. Sometimes we just need more time. Or sometimes we need the energy to do it. Let's say you're like, I want to be a writer. We don't really need a lot more money to do that. You're like, I just don't have any time. Well, maybe you do have half an hour a day. Maybe you're just lacking the energy. And commitment is kind of this idea that it's not just, I need 4 hours on a Saturday and then I could do that thing. But commitment are things that we do over and over and over for a long period of time. So like with writing, if you're like, one of the things I want to do is I want to write a novel. What you really need isn't just 3 months to write the novel. You probably don't need any more money, but you need a daily writing habit. You need to write for 30 minutes a day, perhaps for years, in order to build that skill that you would need to finish a novel. So I just want you to think about each of these to see what is the missing piece. Because, like I said, oftentimes we blame money, but it might be our energy and it might be our time. In later lessons, we're going to figure out how to find the time and money and energy that you're going to need to get this stuff done. So we have a couple lessons coming up down the road once we get a lot of clarity on where we're going, on how to find these things to make it all happen. And for each of these, I have some conversation sheets because I've done mentoring for a long time, and I've done mentoring with friends and couples and partners. And I always find this to be true. Whenever two people get together, one is a worksheet filler outer, and one is a video watcher, and one is a, well, let's just talk about it. Yeah, you watch all the videos, you do the worksheets, just give me the lowdown. So I've created easy talking points so that if one person does all the videos and watches them and does the worksheets, you can just bring a couple conversation questions to a friend, to a spouse, to your sister, and say, hey, do you mind like talking through this idea with me? Because it's something I'm really learning about and I'm thinking about. So I hope that helps you out, and I will see you guys in the next lesson.